As the heavy timbered door creaks open, a wave of heat and odor greets the weary traveler. Smoke coils lazily from the hearth, carrying with it the scent of boiling cabbage, damp wool, and the lingering tang of unwashed bodies. Mud from the streets clings to boots, leaving faint impressions on the packed earth floor, while rushes underfoot have absorbed generations of footsteps and spilled ale. Candle flames tremble along the walls, their flickering light painting long shadows across rough-hewn beams and darkened walls. Somewhere in the corner, a dog gnaws a bone, its quiet scrape mixing with the low murmur of voices. Laughter erupts, brief and brittle, only to be swallowed by the thick air. The tavern is alive, yet survival hums quietly beneath the chaos. Every breath is a mixture of warmth and harshness, every glance revealing faces softened by fatigue and hunger. This chamber is not a place of comfort or ceremony. It is a sanctuary forged from necessity. Patrons from field, road, and workshop gather here, strangers yet bound together by need. The air is heavy, soaked with the history of those who have passed before, yet within the hearth's embrace, a fragile sense of security flickers. Here, amid smoke, heat, and chatter, the day's hardships begin to dissolve, replaced by the simplest of comforts: warmth, food, and the faint echo of shared humanity. As eyes adjust to the dimness, the room becomes more than a building of wood and stone. It becomes a shelter, a small refuge against a vast and often indifferent world, where the mundane act of survival glows like firelight at dusk. In the center of the room, a massive iron pot hangs over the flames, simmering ceaselessly from dawn to midnight. Into its depths go vegetables, grains, bones, and yesterday's scraps, mingling into a thick, pungent broth that changes with each addition. Morning's watery blend is flavored by onions and barley. By evening, the stew swells with cabbage, turnips, leeks, and perhaps a morsel of salted pork. Marrow seeps from bones into the liquid, deepening its hue and scent. Every customer dips their wooden bowl into the same bubbling mass, a silent communion of need and endurance. Bread, coarse and dense, accompanies the stew, torn, soaked, and pressed into service as a plate or a meal, never wasted. The smell is heavy, sometimes bitter, but it nourishes in ways the eye cannot measure. This pot is more than food. It is ritual, continuity, and the very heartbeat of the tavern. Patrons eat quickly, yet with quiet reverence, for each ladle of thick, greasy broth sustains them for laborious days, spent bending to earth or hammering iron. Steam rises in lazy spirals, carrying aromas that cling to hair and sleeve, embedding themselves into memory. The iron pot is the center of life here, unceasing and indifferent, yet generous. Even as flavors shift unpredictably, the consistency of its presence offers comfort. In every simmering mouthful, the medieval world reveals itself, resourceful, harsh, communal, and utterly practical. Amid the smoke and murmur, the endless pot speaks softly of survival, patience, and the fragile dignity of enduring another day. Ale flows like warm sunlight in winter, filling mugs and soothing bones chilled by the streets beyond. Boiled in grain and water, lightly fermented, it is nourishment and protection, safer than the village water, tainted and uncertain. Children sip diluted portions, laborers drink deeply, and travelers let their voices rise as mugs are passed in gentle rhythm. Its foam carries both sustenance and the soft hum of social connection. Conversations weave slowly through the tavern. Tales of harvests, rumors of distant towns, murmurs of debt and desire. The ale loosens tongues but does not erase caution. Disagreements flicker like sparks but rarely blaze into fire under the watchful eyes of the tavern keeper. The scent of yeast and barley blends with smoke, and for a few hours, each sip acts as both a shield and a bridge, connecting lives that otherwise meet only briefly. Candlelight glints on polished wooden mugs, illuminating faces softened by warmth and drink. The hearth radiates heat while the liquid sustains body and spirit. Even the quietest corners echo with laughter, song, or whispered storytelling. Here, in the flickering glow, ale is more than drink. It is ritual, safety, and solace. Its presence reminds all that survival is shared, that even amidst hardship, warmth can flow through hands, voices, and vessels, quietly binding strangers into temporary kinship. Bread rests heavy and dark, a rough slab of rye or barley, hardened by fire and labor. It is cut, torn, pressed, soaked into stew, and used as a plate when vessels are scarce. Cheese, often pungent and aged, accompanies these slices, lending substance to the humble meal. Together they form a geometry of survival, simple and unadorned, yet capable of sustaining life through endless hours of toil. Patrons break crust with calloused hands, bite cautiously at dense crumb, and savor its warmth in silent acknowledgement. Every morsel is economy and necessity. Nothing wasted, nothing frivolous. Steam rising from stew softens bread edges, and the aroma of cheese mingles with smoke and sweat, filling the room with tactile and olfactory textures. Hunger sharpens senses, yet the ritual of tearing bread, dipping it and swallowing slowly, teaches patience. In these small acts, the medieval tavern becomes a place of quiet ritual, a chamber where endurance is celebrated without ceremony, where sustenance is both physical and symbolic, offering a measure of security in a world often unpredictable and cold. Even the simplest combination of bread and cheese carries weight, a slow, grounding ritual that nurtures both body and spirit as dusk deepens outside. Within the smoky walls, distinctions of wealth and status soften beneath the steady rhythm of hunger. Laborers, travelers, and occasional nobles reach for the same bowls, drink from the same mugs, and sit on shared benches. Yet subtle hierarchies remain. The tavern keeper's authority is quiet but pervasive, mediating disputes, observing debts, and ensuring order amid potential chaos. Knives rest at belts as tools and warnings, while coins pass slowly from hand to hand, shaping privileges in small, deliberate ways. Candlelight glimmers across faces lined by toil, the flicker highlighting eyes wary and weary. Conversation weaves between classes, stories and gossip moving freely over the table. Even amid hunger, shared experience blurs the sharp edges of society, offering fleeting equality and soft connection. The tavern itself becomes a chamber of negotiation, both practical and symbolic, where survival, authority, and companionship intertwine. Shadows dance across timber and stone, reflecting the subtle balance between power, necessity, and communal life. In these whispered spaces, medieval order is both rigid and fluid, enduring yet fragile, echoing through laughter, murmurs, and the quiet scraping of bread upon the table. As night deepens, the tavern slows, but its warmth lingers like a memory pressed against the cold. The pot simmers quietly, bread sits beside empty mugs, and embers hum beneath the hearth. Patrons lean back, bodies relaxed but eyes still alert, sharing a fragile safety earned by routine and care. Smoke curls toward dark rafters, carrying aromas of fat, grain, and spice, embedding itself into memory. Outside, the world is uncertain, filled with frost, mud, and distance. Inside, survival persists. The day's toil dissolves in quiet reflection, voices fading into murmurs, footsteps softening on straw-laden floors. In this chamber of smoke, warmth, and shared necessity, the tavern reveals its true purpose. Not pleasure, not indulgence, but the preservation of life. Hunger is quelled, fatigue softened, and the simple miracle of being fed, sheltered, and momentarily safe fills every corner. The flicker of candlelight and the simmer of stew speak more profoundly than words. This is endurance, ritual, and fragile communion. Here, among strangers bound by circumstance, the medieval tavern becomes a sanctuary, and every meal, every shared breath, every small act of care, is a quiet victory against the harshness beyond its doors. In the lingering heat, the listener feels the slow pulse of history, the hush of a world sustained by simple acts of survival.